Good morning, everybody. It's Friday. Welcome to Penvic Ridge. Lovely to see you. Hope you are cheerful and well, and thank you for being with us for our Bible reflection today. As we continue our adventure through the remarkable book of Proverbs, and today we're in chapter 13. The way I try and read this to you is, there are 25 verses, it's almost like 25 different sermons in themselves, so I'll try and read them through carefully. Read them and I'll try and give you some headlines for you to think about afterwards. So here we go. Proverbs and chapter 13. A wise child loves discipline, but a scoffer does not listen to rebuke. From the fruit of their words, good persons eat good things, but the desire of the treacherous is for wrongdoing. Those who guard their mouths preserve their lives. Those who open wide their lips come to ruin. The appetite of the lazy craves and gets nothing, while the appetite of the diligent is richly supplied. The righteous hate falsehood, but the wicked act shamefully and disgracefully. Righteousness guards one whose way is upright, but sin overthrows the wicked. Some pretend to be rich, yet have nothing. Others pretend to be poor, yet have great wealth. Wealth is a ransom for a person's life, but the poor get no threats. The light of the righteous rejoices, but the lamp of the wicked goes out. By insolence the heedless make strife, but wisdom is with those who take advice. Wealth hastily gotten will dwindle, but those who gather little by little will increase it. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but the desire fulfilled is a tree of life. Those who despise the word bring destruction on themselves, but those who respect the commandment will be rewarded. The teaching of the wise is a fountain of life, so that one may avoid the snares of death. Good sense wins favour, but the way of the faithless is their ruin. The clever do all things intelligently, but the fool displays folly. A bad messenger brings trouble, but a faithful envoy healing. Poverty and disgrace are for the one who ignores instruction, but one who heeds reproof is honoured. A desire realised is sweet to the soul, but to turn away from evil is an abomination to fools. Whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of the fools suffers harm. Misfortune pursues sinners, but prosperity rewards the righteous. The good leave an inheritance to their children's children, but the sinner's wealth is laid up for the righteous. The field of the poor may yield much food, but it's swept away through injustice. Those who spare the rod hate their children, but those who love them are diligent to discipline them. The righteous have enough to satisfy their appetite, but the belly of the wicked is empty. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So, as I say, 25 verses, and I could give you a sermon on each one, but don't worry, I'm not going to, although we'll be here all day. Just to give you a few kind of headline figures. I will stick with these Bible studies in a sense. I can't tell you everything there is. If I can make you want to go back and read it again, in a sense, that's what I'm trying to do. So, Proverbs chapter 13, just a few kind of headline figures for you. Firstly, in verse 1, another theme, a theme which just seems to go right through the book from beginning to end, is again and reinforcing the importance of being teachable, the importance of not thinking, I know it all. And for example, it talks about here somebody who, about a wise child loves discipline. And as a commentator I read said this: if somebody can't listen to their father, they're well on their way to being insufferable. That's a pretty good phrase. So that's a good thought. So the first thing, a theme, as I say, comes constantly through the book of Proverbs, is the importance of being teachable, about being prepared to learn, about being prepared to listen to other people. And you hear it again about in verse 10. You have about by insolence the heedless make strife, but wisdom is with those who take advice. That's in verse 10, and also in verse 18. You have somebody who says, poverty, blah, 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 but one who heeds reproof is honoured. In other words, again, a theme coming constantly in the book of Proverbs, the importance of being teachable, being prepared to learn. And it's absolutely vital. Never think you know it all. We must always be prepared to listen to other people, listen to God, and that way we will grow. The second thing I want to say, really, which again is a theme which comes through the book of Proverbs a lot, which I haven't picked up on yet, is about rashness and about the use of the tongue. It's very tempting when you feel cross about something to just snap and say something, and but the trouble is, by doing that, it can inflame tensions and things get worse. And in the book of James, in the New Testament, James talks about the importance of guarding, of bridling the tongue, by being careful what you say. So it says here in verse 3, those who guard their mouths preserve their lives. Those who open wide their lips come to ruin. So about the importance of being careful in what we say, using our tongue carefully and resisting the temptation to say rash things. You may feel like saying them sometimes, but it's better if you don't. So the first thing we've got is being teachable. Second thing I want to pick up on is the importance of being careful with your tongue and be careful not to say rash things. Another theme which comes to the book of Proverbs a lot is about sloth and about laziness. And you see it here in verse 4. The appetite of the lazy craves and gets nothing, but the appetite of the diligent is richly supplied. In the book of Proverbs, you see that he talks about somebody called the sluggard, the lazy person. And you see the sluggard comes up quite a lot. And you discover it throughout the book of Proverbs that the sluggard never starts anything. He never finishes anything. That he doesn't face up to difficult decisions and doesn't face up to things. And ultimately, he's restless. And here we know the appetite of the lazy craves and gets nothing. So a lazy person is basically restless. They never start anything off. They're never finishing anything off. They don't ask the difficult questions. And ultimately, they're restless. And there's a warning here for us here against laziness. This character, the sluggard or the lazy, comes up quite a lot in the book of Proverbs, and you see them through. Then in verse 14, you've got the importance of enjoying wisdom. Finding wise people to listen to. As I said, the teaching of the wise is a fountain of life, so that one may avoid the snares of death. It's good actually to find wise people that you can listen to. When I was ordained back in 1992, yes, I've been doing this a long. I know I don't look old enough, but I've been ordained over 30 years. The man that did the ordination retreat was a man called John Sentamu, who at the time I think was an archdeacon or something. And he went on to become the Archbishop of York. And he said things at the ordination retreat that I still feed on to this day. And so because, the teaching of the wise is a fountain of life. And he said things, and I still, so to speak, drink on them like the fountain of life. To this day, he said things which I still remember very carefully. So the teaching of the wise is a fountain of life. Find good people to listen to. Then fifthly, in verse 20, you have, whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools suffers harm. Again, I think this is something we've kind of lost out on somewhat here, that the way to learn your way through life and the Christian life is not, you can't really learn it from a book. You do pick up information and things. You can pick up information and wisdom from books, of course you can. But I think actually it's important to walk alongside people who are walking the walk with God. When you become a curate in the Church of England, you don't do it all by correspondence course. You actually go and live in a parish and you work alongside the vicar, and you learn from them kind of by what they do and how they do things, the kind of the way it's done. So it's the importance here of not just getting information, but actually walking the walk with people. When Jesus called his disciples, he said, "Well, what are they?" He called them to be with him, and that he could then send them out. So he called so they could be with him, and that he could then post them out like apostles. And it's the importance of actually being with him, eating with Jesus and talking with Jesus and being with Jesus and walking the walk of God with Jesus. So it's not just about learning things from a book or facts or the internet or whatever. Whoever walks with the wise becomes wise. So I think it's about the importance of getting along. And again, that's where the church is so important. And people think, I don't need the church. Actually, we do, because we need to walk the walk together. And walk, it's something we walk together. It's not just something you learn from a book. Then finally in verse 24, there's this phrase which has been often used, those who spare the rod hate or spoil the child, that phrase used. And again, I have to be very careful what I say these days. But whenever you think about corporal punishment, I think what it's really about is about the importance of, those who love the children are diligent to discipline them. It is important that however we do it, that we show children that there is such a thing as right and there is such a thing as wrong. And also they need to learn too that bad choices and bad behaviors and things have consequences. That when we make bad choices, bad things happen, and life isn't what it should be. It's called sin, actually, and it has consequences. And it does concern me nowadays. Well, we seem to praise everybody up for everything they do all the time, especially children. I think we need to know that, sometimes in life we fail, sometimes we make bad choices, sometimes things don't always go right for us, and sometimes we lose in life. That is life, and I think often we don't learn that. And those who spare the rod spoil the child. I think what it really means is the importance of showing your children that there is such a thing as right and wrong, that there are good and there are bad choices, and they need to know that there is a difference. And I think that's how I would interpret verse 24. So, 6 things from this chapter. Firstly, again, the importance of being teachable, being prepared to learn. Secondly, the importance of being careful what we do with our tongues. That is verse 3. The importance of being careful what we say, not being rash, but actually bridling your tongue, as spoken of in the book of James. The third thing I want to talk about is about sloth, and about the sluggard, the lazy person in verse 4. The lazy people never start anything, never finish anything, never ask difficult questions, and end up ultimately becoming restless. Verse 14, the fourth thing, is about wisdom and about enjoying wisdom, enjoying the wisdom of people who've been around. Fifthly, the importance of learning together, of learning, walking the walk together with God. Not just, you can't pick it up a correspondence, because the importance of walking the walk and actually being alongside wise and good Christian people. And finally, in verse 24, the importance of showing our children the difference between right and wrong, that there is such a thing as good, there is such a thing as bad, there is and choices but have consequences both ways. And I think our kids need to know that as much as ever. Friends, lots to think about. Have a lovely weekend. Thank you so much for watching. Do please share these messages with your friends and have a lovely weekend. God bless you. Chapter 14 on Monday. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you at church at the